Is global warming a problem that will affect the rest of the planet and not Hawaii? Should we be concerned that glaciers are melting or using oil causes greenhouse gases? The issues we face here in Hawaii are unique to our environmental climate and our social climate. Global warming is transforming our world, and out here in the middle of the Pacific, Hawaii is facing an uncertain future.
And I think ultimately, when sea level reaches a meter or more higher than it is today, we're simply going to have to abandon Waikiki.
I don't know that too many people will want to see Waikiki turn into a Venice of Waikiki.
Beyond our physical climate changing, our social climate has to make a radical shift. From the policies that shape our community to actions in our daily lives, we need to make changes today before it's too late. We have the opportunity to develop a broad range of solutions so we won't be so dependent on one source of energy.
The more that we can reduce our reliance on outside sources of fuel, the more we are going to be more self-reliant as a state.
People should be very concerned about our overdependency on imported oil.
As the most isolated population center in the world, it doesn't make sense for Hawaii to simply copy what's being done in other parts of the world. We should look for answers that make sense given our unique conditions. However, despite all of the challenges ahead, Hawaii has the great benefit of abundant solutions.
We've got the right climate, that's for sure, and not every state is so blessed as we are.
I think in Hawaii, biofuels is the only way to get from point A to point Z quickly.
This project will eliminate the burning of 600 to 700 barrels of fuel a day on an annualized basis.
All of these sources of renewable energy are promising, but we can't pin our hopes on one of them to becoming a silver bullet that will meet all of our energy needs. Hawaii has the potential to develop abundant sources of clean, renewable energy. Blessed with clear, sunny skies, strong, sustained winds, rich, fruitful growing conditions, and the vast geothermal resources, our islands possess the means of generating more renewable power. Together, as a community, we can do what's needed to cope with our climate crisis.
You know, there are future generations out there that we have a moral obligation to.
We have the ability to propose solutions and to actually implement them here and to be that role model.
I think like if every person thought that I can just do at least a little, then everybody coming together can do a lot.
In this next hour, we're going to take the global issue of climate change and focus on Hawaii. How will the changes in our physical climate affect life here in the middle of the Pacific? And what, if any, solutions do we have to help Hawaii be sustainable for the future? Our planet is changing. From where we live to how we live, being in the middle of the Pacific, we need to pay attention to the signs so we can avoid Hawaii's climate crisis. When the world thinks of Hawaii, this is the image most are familiar with. Diamond Head, blue water, and sandy beaches. With a rising ocean, grains of sand might be replaced with an ungiving concrete. This, unfortunately, could be the image future generations will be more familiar with.
Waikiki is a very interesting case study in how the Hawaiian quality of life and the Hawaiian shoreline are going to be affected by sea level rise.
Dr. Charles Fletcher of the University of Hawaii is studying the potential impacts of rising sea levels throughout our islands.
I'm standing on wet sand from last night's high tide. You can see that the waves reached as far as this, and we're nearly into the lobby of this hotel. As sea level starts to rise, we're going to see waves running down into the lower floor of the hotel, down into the parking structures and into the offices down there.
His research and modeling are revealing that a rising ocean will cause significant impacts to vital areas of our islands.
It's kind of an amazing thing to realize that this is the center of our tourism economy, Waikiki, and if you ask most tourists, they're there because they've heard so much about the beach and they want to get into the ocean and experience the beach. And yet the beach disappears every day at high tide along most of Waikiki.
Global warming is leading to sea level rise in two different ways. The first problem, polar ice is melting at alarming rates. Ice currently over land masses adds water to the oceans as it melts. As the melting ice runs into the ocean from land, that new water adds to the ocean's volume and the sea level rises. The second problem is the rising temperature of the ocean's surface. Warmer water expands, and that contributes to an increase in sea level. A planetary temperature rise of 1 to 4 degrees might not seem like much, but any rise in water temperature expands the oceans.
There are going to be changes in Hawaii no matter what happens. We're going to lose a lot of beaches. We're going to see some of our more populated areas like Waikiki change dramatically. And I think we have to accept that and prepare for it today.
I appreciate that the average person doesn't feel the immediacy of this problem, although I do know that there are a lot of people out there worried about it.
Sea level rise is not just impacting our shoreline. A rising sea will make its way inland.
Eventually, we're going to become in a Venice-like situation where we'll have to continuously pump the groundwater table and lower the groundwater table at great expense.
The rising ocean not only affects us above ground, the salt water will contaminate utilities below the ground, and infrastructure that wasn't designed to resist salt water will now be in contact with the corrosive salt. Another problem will be the contamination of our drinking water that rests in aquifers. It actually is already happening, but is managed because fresh water is lighter than salt water, and it sits on top. With sea level rise, storage of the water will be reduced because of the added saltwater level.
I think people take for granted our resources. With an issue like sea level rise, the impact on our aquifer is extremely critical, and we should be well aware of it.
If you consider the fact that if sea level rises, what you're going to have is a possibility that there may be a lot more contamination of these water sources as well.
These are the kinds of concerns we should have now so they won't amount to a crisis later.
The most expensive way to address this problem is to ignore it right now.
Dr. Fletcher's computer modeling of Waikiki and downtown Honolulu reveals how major economic areas will collect salt water from the ocean. Waikiki is the center of tourism for the entire state. A daily flood will be a disruption to the economic engine of Waikiki. This work is crucial to recognizing where problems will occur, how we will be affected, and what, if any, solutions might be able to head off disaster.
And I think ultimately, when sea level reaches a meter or more higher than it is today, we're simply going to have to abandon Waikiki, and we're going to have to identify new areas where we're going to focus our tourism.
Some of the most prime real estate is located around the shoreline. Waikiki or other locations where there's a lot of resort development is likely to be affected by sea level rise.
Hawaii is built around the coast. We prize our beaches, we prize our surf spots, our beautiful reef, and this has been this way for centuries.
There are options we can use to manage the rising sea levels and beach erosion, but some experts say they are merely short-term solutions.
Our typical reaction to coastal erosion is to build a seawall. A seawall is effective at protecting the land and protecting the buildings that are behind it, but seawalls don't do anything for the sand beach in front. And in fact, with waves reflecting off that solid wall and also cutting off a supply of sand from the land behind it, seawalls actually tend to speed up the loss of beaches. And right now at high tide, during periods of high waves, as much as 50% of Waikiki Beach is gone. It's underwater.
The walls will keep the ocean back, but we will lose the major reason tourists flock here from around the world. One problem may be solved, but many more may be created. Another option is replenishing the sand that has been washed away.
But beach nourishment is expensive, It's also temporary. Many beach nourishment projects only last a year, and then they need more sand to be put on them. So that if we have 1 foot of sea level rise taking place over the next 50 years, we can expect 100 feet of shoreline retreat or coastal erosion to take place.
I don't know that too many people will want to see Waikiki turn into a Venice of Waikiki, but I think we need to take those things very seriously.
At what point do you continue to doubt the possibility in the face of overwhelming evidence and agreement by large populations of informed experts? So if we acknowledge that this is inevitable, which most of the scientific community is encouraging our decision makers to do, then the cheapest way to approach this, the most economically viable way to approach this, is to start planning for it right now.
Sea level rise is not the kind of disaster which hits quickly, like a tsunami or an earthquake, but it is a problem we are going to face. Whether it's tomorrow or 50 years away, the rising sea will not recede, and future generations will have to deal with our changing Hawaii. How do we power ourselves in the future? This is not a question we can put off for another day.
The answer is we will have to develop policies that will reshape our economy. Agencies like the Hawaii Energy Policy Forum are looking for answers. They hope to expand opportunities in renewable power, reduce greenhouse gases, and bring government, business, and communities together to find solutions.
It's important for all of us. Oil is not going to be around forever. We know it's going to go away. Is it going to be 50 years, 100 years? It's going to go away. So we need to be thinking now what the next picture will look like for our energy.
Most people think our economy is based on tourism, but it's actually based on oil.
Oil is really, though, the oxygen to our economy. It is everything we do, from food to transit to keeping the lights on. It all comes back to oil.
Every plane that lands in the islands, every car on the road, our home electricity, even our ability to eat depends on fossil fuels. Those fossil fuels are the leading cause of climate change and the heating of our planet.
Our dependence also makes our state vulnerable to any disruptions in the supply of oil.
We need to make voluntary changes to our social climate, the way we live in Hawaii, or will be forced to do so. Whether you believe in the science of global warming, our state is in severe danger because of our dependence on oil.
So we wind up being 100% dependent on oil for transportation, ground transportation, marine transportation, jet fuel.
Just about every form of movement in the islands depends on the use of oil. We have designed communities around getting in our cars and driving. As long as we continue this way of life, we set ourselves up for problems. The solution, as a society, we need to develop policies that will encourage government, industry, and consumers to all work together.
We're in a very particularly problematic situation because we're so dependent on oil, and at the present time we have so few alternatives.
We keep making gas guzzlers. We're not going to get anywhere because I think people are going to be demanding new, cleaner types of technologies, more efficient technologies, and we should recognize that and have that as part of our economic development strategy.
Congestion, high gas prices, and pollution are the reality we live with every day. Future transportation decisions need to take into account not only just how we get from point A to point B, but what powers us there. Light rail or more roads may reduce our time in our cars, but they will both use imported oil. Instead of looking to build more, we need to design more efficient ways of moving.
We're going to have to make some changes pretty quick. But those changes are largely positive for our quality of life and for our economy.
We are all familiar with the polluting power of our transportation choices, but they aren't the biggest polluters. Huge amounts of greenhouse gases put into the air comes from the buildings that we live and work in.
Each electronic device consumes energy when it's on and when it's off. The millions of devices combined are energy monsters. Put them in our energy inefficient buildings, and we are not only contributing to global warming, we are wasting money. Has economic development trumped the nature of our environment? With an economy based on our environment, can we sustain what makes Hawaii, Hawaii?
Our challenge is going to be to protect and save what we can here.
Burning fossil fuels like oil for energy and transportation creates greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide, which are contributing to global climate change. For Hawaii, it not only affects our physical environment, it affects our social environment. With our economy based on imported oil, rising costs affect every part of our lives.
Our economy is based on the importation of fossil fuels. As supplies go down and competition rise for the scarce resources, we're extremely vulnerable.
So when oil, which is insecure, oil which is polluting when you burn it in order to produce energy, and oil for which you have no idea what you're going to be paying for over the next years, is so potentially devastating to an economy like Hawaii that we all need to be really concerned about it.
Most isolated, populated landmass in the world. You know, I think in many ways most of us enjoy that, and that's part of what we love about this place, but it also has consequences in terms of supply line.
This just web of interdependencies on getting this, life-sustaining resource to Hawaii, and it makes us very vulnerable.
To understand where we are, it helps to understand how we got here. Oil as a power source made sense for so many years for a number of reasons. First of all, oil was cheap and plentiful, which leads us to another reason Hawaii became dependent on oil. Since the first days of jet travel and tourists flocked here, we've needed fuel to get them home. Oil is shipped here by tanker and refined locally. Jet fuel is the first fuel produced, and since we are out here in the middle of the Pacific, a lifeline for our tourist industry. About 2/3 of Hawaii's imported oil goes to produce fuels for transportation. About 1/3 is used to generate electricity.
Unfortunately, the energy system that's in Hawaii is largely dependent on oil. 90% of what we use, even today, for our primary energy comes from oil. And we don't have that oil in Hawaii. All of it has to be brought in from outside of the state.
For a lot of reasons, being dependent on importing it is a real challenge for us as a community, and we should be very unhappy about the fact that we import 93% of our fuel and 95% of our food.
Food that has traveled thousands of miles to get to us adds tremendous amounts of carbon dioxide to the planet. The cost of food increases as well because of the price of oil. It's not the cost of living in paradise, it's the cost of living in paradise and importing the world to us.
When we are importing all this food stuff in these big container ships, it takes fuel. It takes fuel to bring these foodstuffs in.
Hawaii has just a 4-day food supply at any given time. Any disruption in the supply lines could cripple our economic engine throughout the state. Developing local, renewable sources of power is important for another reason. All of the electricity used in Hawaii must be generated in the islands. In other parts of the country, electric grids are connected, allowing different states to share power. In Hawaii, each island generates all of its own power.
You know, you look at places on, say, the continental United States, and, you know, if your system fails, you plug into a big national grid and you can pull power from anywhere in North America. We don't have that. You know, we're really on our own.
Hawaii is in a unique situation because our island grids are extremely small compared to, you know, these huge continental grids like on the United States, the continental United States and in Europe, where they can send electricity from one coast to the other across countries. And here we're limited by our islands. And so I think government has a role in resolving the technical problems, in balancing the needs of a small grid.
Oil has provided freedom in the islands, freedom to drive, freedom to power, freedom to fly. That sense of freedom comes at a cost. Importing oil affects our economy. All the money spent on it leaves our islands.
I mean, we spend nearly $500,000 an hour just on energy in Hawaii, and that's money that largely leaves the state's economy.
Plugging the economic drain keeps money at home. Keeping just a fraction means hundreds of millions of dollars spread throughout our state.
The estimates are we export $7 billion a year out of this economy to buy that food and that fuel. If we could make 10% of that here, that's 700 million back in this economy. 20%, 1.4 billion back into this economy.
There's an economic benefit and there's a environmental benefit to the state. And so, you know, the model is the more we can keep home, the more it's gonna support the local economy, create local jobs.
I think the basic principle in economics is reduce your imports, increase your exports.
What defines us here in Hawaii? Is it what we drive? Or where we live? Or is it not what we have, but how we treat what we've been given? We drive the same cars, eat similar foods, and our lights turn on when we want them to. The difference is the cost. Is it worth it to the environment to use oil like we do? Is it cost effective to consume foods that have traveled thousands of miles to get to our mouths? And is it a good investment to rely on oil?
The future of oil as a resource is unclear. What is clear is that the worldwide demand grows daily.
The damage to the planet grows as well. Keeping things local is the foundation of a sustainable community. Relying on imports only makes Hawaii vulnerable to a changing world. Our economy is our environment, and if we expect the world to fight climate change, we have the opportunity to be the example. Not too long ago, these empty fields were green with sugar and pineapple. Today, there are few reminders of Hawaii's rich agricultural heritage. However, in Kunia, scientists are studying what could turn out to be the next big thing for agriculture in Hawaii, the crops that can be harvested for fuel.
We'll take counts of fruits that are producing on the tree, and then also as they mature, we'll come out and we'll take counts of mature fruits, collect them all, take them back, and do seed counts.
The fuels, called biofuels, hold especially great promise for our islands.
I think in Hawaii, biofuels is the only way to get from point A to point Z quickly.
Landis Maez is leading an effort to produce biofuels in Hawaii for use in electrical generators. Specifically, Maez is looking at biodiesel, a kind of biofuel which could soon start making Hawaii's dream of additional renewable energy a reality. Biodiesel can be produced from crops rich in vegetable oils. Jatropha, a bushy tree with oily fruits, are one example of the kind of crops which could help Hawaii grow its own fuel.
It's been utilized around the world for over 150 years for producing oils for lamps.
The thing that makes biofuel sort of really interesting and unique is that it has the opportunity to also reinvigorate the ag market that has gone dormant in Hawaii.
BlueEarth Biofuels feels strongly that locally grown agriculture is the foundation of any biodiesel project within the islands.
Biodiesel sounds like a new technology, but it actually traces its origins back to the 19th century, a time when science seemed like magic and modern agriculture was taking root in Hawaii. When it was originally patented back in 1892, the diesel engine was designed to run on vegetable oil. That means modern diesel burning generating units can easily substitute biodiesel for fuels based on petroleum.
In other words, our vulnerability to oil has sort of good news, bad news. Bad news is it's oil. The good news is if you can find a liquid fuel to replace the liquid fuel, it can be one-to-one. So wherever we burn diesel, we can burn biodiesel. Using the investment that we as a community have already made in the cost of our power plants and switching them from essentially black to green.
Jatropha, or other rich crops, could be grown in Hawaii, providing a local source of raw materials needed to produce biodiesel.
I think anything that is going to produce a viable market for our growers in Hawaii is a valuable thing to pursue.
Fields that were once used to grow sugarcane and pineapple could be replanted with energy crops. Empty lands could be lush, green fields of renewable energy, revitalizing agriculture in Hawaii. These farms would create jobs and keep dollars circulating in Hawaii's economy instead of spending them on importing oil from across the ocean.
That we could return that green space to a fuel space, create jobs, create an opportunity to have an integrated fuel model in our state.
Just by building the plant we're building on Maui is a draw to local agriculture to say, we're in business, we want you to grow the crop.
How close are we to taking advantage of this source of renewable power? Maybe closer than you think.
We're just around the corner from using biodiesel as a power source.
So you could literally take a plant that was burning a petroleum product and a day later be burning a renewable green product.
On Maui, 85% of the electrical power used is produced by generating units which currently run on petroleum-based diesel. These are now being adapted to run on biodiesel. On Oahu, a new generating unit scheduled to come online in 2009 will run entirely on biofuels. This will be the first such commercial plant in the United States and perhaps the world. Like other sources of energy, biodiesel must answer two important questions. How much will it cost, and how will it impact our environment? The cost of biodiesel depends largely on the crops used in its production. Until Hawaii's agricultural industry adapts, the feedstock will need to be imported from out of state. However, unlike petroleum-based diesel, the cost of biodiesel should not rise and fall with fluctuations in the price of oil.
BlueEarth Biofuels is seeing on the world markets that petroleum price continues to go up. Biodiesel is a way for Hawaii and the country to become energy independent and also to control the pricing.
Biodiesel burns more cleanly than petroleum diesel, producing less air pollution and fewer greenhouse gases.
Benefit to the environment is really why we're doing what we're doing. We're going to be reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 3 billion pounds of greenhouse gases a year.
The crops grown to produce biodiesel would consume carbon dioxide.
We'll be a sustainable, renewable, cyclical business that will continue to make Hawaii self-sufficient and energy independent.
Simply put, making the switch to biofuels could reduce Hawaii's impact on climate change. If you don't love the sun, Hawaii is the wrong place for you. Millions pack in planes to spend a week or two just soaking it in. Each day, Hawaii is hit with enough solar energy to power us for more than 20 years.
We've got the right climate, that's for sure, and not every state is so blessed as we are.
Nearly every day, the sun shines in Hawaii, and that sun can give us clean, renewable energy. Solar energy is off-the-shelf technology, meaning it's proven to work and is here today.
So easy to reduce a very, very significant part of your total utility bill by just putting in this one simple device. Typically, water heating in the Hawaiian Islands is anywhere between 30 to 50% of the total amount of electricity used in that home.
The #1 consumer of your home electricity is heating water. For the typical Hawaii home, it's between 30 to 50% of your electric bill. The average home saves nearly $500 a year with a solar water heater, paying for itself in 3 years.
Currently, only 1 out of 4 homes have solar hot water heating, and if there's any immediate benefit to island residents, especially on the neighbor islands where electricity is so high.
Even though solar water heaters don't create electricity, the ones that have been installed in Hawaii have saved enough power to eliminate the building of a new power plant. Regular water heaters suck electricity 24 hours a day to keep the water hot. Solar water heaters use the sun's energy to heat water, and that water is then kept hot in an insulated tank. When you turn the water on, you get hot water.
Well, if you're not moved by money alone, I mean, maybe the environment moves you, maybe your concern over global climate change will move you.
As we have learned, just about all of our electricity comes from burning oil, and that contributes to our carbon dioxide level. But solar power has much more potential beyond heating water. In addition to reducing the amount of energy we use on a daily basis, our sunshine can also be used to generate electricity to power our homes and businesses.
This is my solar water heating system that provides all the water, hot water for the house. And this is the grid-tied net metering photovoltaic system, which is tied with the Hawaiian electric grid, provides all the electricity for the house. Our bill is usually around only $3 to $6 a month.
As long as the sun is out, photovoltaic panels generate electricity. So far, photovoltaic panels have seen limited use in Hawaii.
Solar is a natural resource that's underutilized in Hawaii.
Homeowners and businesses can generate their own power using photovoltaic panels, saving themselves money on their utility bills.
Before we installed the photovoltaics, our usage was about 18 kilowatt hours per month. And here's one I'm really proud of, 0 electric bill, showing no bar on the bar chart with no usage for the entire month, 0 usage.
And you shouldn't have that sense that, oh, I'm going to wait 5 years because it's going to be a lot better. It's not. And you will have, there's 60 months of utility bills that you will have paid, but you could have foregone by hedging a little bit today.
But where do we put these panels of power?
But we have plenty of rooftop space that's available now that can be utilized to take advantage of photovoltaics. And that's where I think we need to start.
The average rooftop receives enough energy to actually power itself once or twice over.
But you have a parking lot the size of Ala Moana, and you can generate many megawatts of power just by virtue of putting an awning there that provides cooling, makes everybody more comfortable as parked out there.
We have the space to use the sun's energy for power. The possibilities for this application are only bound by our imagination and willingness to make it happen.
We should be using all the resources as much as possible. They're very successful, and again, it's off-the-shelf technology we should be using.
All of the stuff's there to get this done today. And you as an individual homeowner or business owner can make a tremendous dent in your utility bills today with good solid equipment.
Why are we not using this technology today? The future is very bright for solar and needs to be a shining example of smart resource use. Solar power in all of its forms should be part of Hawaii's energy future. The winds of our islands have provided power for centuries. Our trade winds keep us cool. Can they also give us light?
Overlooking the village of Ma'alaia is the Kahiava Wind Farm, producing energy for about 9% of Maui. These 180-foot wind turbines use Mother Nature to create clean, renewable energy.
The project is a 30-megawatt project, and each machine, there's 20 machines, each machine is 1.5 megawatts. What that means is that when the wind is blowing at full speed for the turbines, which is about 24 miles an hour, they'll generate 30 megawatts, and that's the equivalent of about 10,000 homes here on Maui. Will eliminate the burning of 600 to 700 barrels of fuel a day on an annualized basis. And that equates to about 177 million pounds of carbon dioxide on an annualized basis that doesn't go up into our atmosphere.
The technology of generating power from wind has advanced beyond the simple windmill.
This project was a large investment. It was a $75 million project. It was all privately financed. Those blades are essentially airfoils. They're just like an airplane wing. Their job is to catch the energy out of the wind, turn the rotor. The rotor in turn turns a shaft, hits the gearbox, and turns a generator. And the generator generates our electricity.
Kahiava Wind Power understands the abundant resource and the benefits to the Maui community. Throughout the state, each island has wind power potential. The U.S. Department of Energy classifies our state as a good to excellent wind power resource. Because Hawaii has such amazing winds, it makes wind energy a great option for our energy future. Like other renewables, it won't be the silver bullet that gets us off oil, but it will be a part of the energy picture.
Are also what we call very available, meaning that when the wind's blowing, they're available about 97% of the time. So that allows you basically to get the most use out of the wind resource and the site and generate the lowest cost energy.
As the first wind project on the island of Maui, Kahiava Wind Power understands the importance of living with the land and not just on it.
What you see here is part of our native replanting program. These are seedlings, a'ali'i, native plants that were, the seeds for these were collected actually up at the higher elevations by a community group. They were taken to a nursery and grown, and then they were brought back into the site. And our plan is to eventually replant all of the disturbed areas with native plants. When we started this project, we determined that we would take the high road, if you will. It was our goal to create a model project, one that would be a project that we could look to in Hawaii for additional projects. We tried to do everything right on this project, everything from using the local contractors to replanting native plants to taking care of the birds.
Realizing the benefits of wind power to a community is essential as we move to a more sustainable Hawaii.
Projects like this need a great deal of community support. We've been fortunate here on Maui to have that support. We need projects like this to become less dependent on foreign sources of oil. Hopefully this technology, this kind of a product, inspires our younger generations to continue into engineering fields so that we can get even better sources of renewable energy in the future.
What should we expect from places of learning? Should they inspire us, or does it really matter? Throughout the world, green construction is booming. Buildings are more efficient, use less energy, and are built in a responsible manner. Students at Case Middle School on the Punahou campus belong to a generation that will be greatly affected by climate change. Luckily, they attend one of the greenest schools in the country and are surrounded every day by the future of building design.
At first I was like, cool, that's a cool roof. But after a while they told us like it was for making energy for the buildings since they're off the grid. And then when I first heard that, I was like, nah, it couldn't, no building can be off the grid that's big.
On the roof, the panels create renewable energy from the sun. Building such an innovative school fosters another renewable resource, learning.
Not just by learning from the books and the teachers, but having them teach you all about the place that you live in.
To cool the buildings, there is an on-site ice plant. During the night, energy use for the whole island goes way down, and that's when the ice is made. Making ice uses a lot of energy, but because it's done at night, Hawaiian Electric offers a lower rate. During the day, blowers send cool air off the ice throughout the facility. This smart method of air conditioning saves Punahou about 40% off its energy bill.
In dollars, it translates to about a $58,000 to $60,000 savings on an annual basis. So, you know, there is incentive here. When people tell you that these systems don't pay for themselves or it's too much as an upfront cost, if you get involved with it, you get familiar with the technology, you'll find that no, it does pay for itself, and there are benefits, especially when you look at the life cycle of the buildings.
The best use of energy is not to use it. By using recycled products, the school saves energy and keeps garbage from the landfill. The buildings are smart by design, and that's what a place of learning should be.
Since there's tons of people that put so much effort into making these buildings so environmentally friendly, that it kind of got me thinking, what could I do?
Saving energy, recycling, and sustaining Hawaii's delicate environment is not just taught here, it's lived. Building green office buildings, schools, and homes honor the beautiful place we live in.
We owe a lot to the land, what we're able to do, and I think we need to be aware of that.
Well, I really hope that somehow we can change, whether it be just a little bit or a lot, just to make our islands more green and stuff and set an example for other states and other countries.
Whatever I do, I'm going to bring the lessons that I've learned here about environmental awareness with me and teach as many people as I can.
These buildings have everything other classrooms have. They just run smarter. The technologies of building green don't cost more, they actually cost less, saving money by being more efficient. If everyone in Hawaii made even a small effort to reduce the energy consumption, we can become a force of positive change. Hawaii uses the most energy between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. when we all arrive home from work. One home powering up is not a lot, but hundreds of thousands puts a strain on our electricity grid and emits tons of carbon dioxide. Now, no one wants to go without power or electricity, and the good news is you don't have to.
One way you can make a positive change is to cut down on your electric bill. Today, there are many devices to help you accomplish that. All you have to do is go to your local hardware store, like the Home Depot. Compact fluorescent light bulbs. You know, these use 75% less energy than the typical light bulb. And think of this. The typical household has over 25 light bulbs, so you can see it is a huge savings not only to your pocketbook, but also Hawaii's environment. According to the Department of Energy, Americans use more power when appliances are off than when they're on. It's hard to believe, but it's actually true. Think about it. Your computer, your television, your cell phone charger, when they're plugged in, they're still using electricity. They call it phantom power. Now, one way to protect that is to have all of those items plugged into one of these, a power strip. You plug all of them in, and then with one push of a button, they're all off. It's a good way to prevent wasted electricity. Mike, as we move into the appliance section, I hear so much about Energy Star. What is that?
Well, Energy Star is any appliance that's going to use 25% less power. One of the examples, this refrigerator right here. Not only does it have better insulation than the standard model, it also has built-in sensors that will tell when the food is cold, thereby, you know, shutting down the system earlier and saving electricity. Also with a door alarm on there that will prevent any problems with doors being left open.
Are there any other Energy Star appliances?
Oh, if I got a good one for you. Right over here,
wow,
we have a front-load washer and dryer. This is a great product right here. Over your standard model, this guy right here will save you 26 gallons of water every time you use it. Imagine how much that is every week.
That's a lot.
Yeah, not only that, but it's going to use less detergent, and it's going to wring those clothes out even drier. So by the time you actually do get to your front load dryer here, it's going to take half the amount of time to be able to dry your clothes. And believe me, that's going to save you a lot of energy.
Well, Mike, you got me sold. Help me get this into the cart here.
You got it.
You know, Mike, just because a house has a lot of windows doesn't mean it's a cooler house.
No, you know what? About 50% of the heat that's in your home right now comes right through those windows. But there's something you can do about that. If you're changing out your windows, you can change them with a new product called Low E Glass. Basically, this product right here will block out 50% of the heat that's coming into your home, saving electricity. All types of windows that you can use Low E Glass.
What if I'm not ready to change out my windows yet?
Well, you know what? I have another product for you that'll work just as good, if not better, and that right here is a heat control film. It's just like your car, tinting that you have. Easy to apply. You can put it on any type of window, jalousies, goes on immediately, blocks out 72% of the heat and 99% of the UV rays.
I can start saving today. I'll take 2. Mike, my home personifies that phrase, hot house. What can I do to cool it off?
Well, I'll tell you. What color is your roof?
There it is right there. That's it.
Well, you know what? The darker your roof, the more heat that you're absorbing in there. I got a product that will help you out with that. It's called SolarPlex. This is basically a white coating that's going to go on your roof that will reflect 70% of the heat that's inside of your home, literally cutting down the temperature by 20 degrees. It goes on with a standard roller, just like you were painting the side of your house.
Great. It's easy to use, huh?
Yep, sure is. Anybody can use it, and it's a great product.
Well, this didn't take much time, and it's certainly not going to cost a lot of money. But if we all do just a small part, what a big, huge difference it would make in not only saving electricity, but also helping to protect our environment.
Nothing moves in Hawaii without energy. We now know the cost to the planet in our pocketbooks using oil to move us. Gone are the days of looking miles below the earth to find fuel. In the future, the fuel will come to us on the surface.
Whatever we develop should be Hawaii-based. Whatever economic analysis is done should be exclusive to Hawaii because we are different from the mainland states.
Growing crops for fuel used locally makes us independent from imports. It also provides the opportunity for a new agricultural boom. Growing fuel in Hawaii keeps money in Hawaii. Our agricultural history built the economy in our islands, and it helped diversify it for the future. A future that is good for the environment, good for our economy, and good for the people of Hawaii. Looking to the future of Hawaii, we need to not lose sight of our natural resources. Future generations will have to look to solar and wind to power their lives. Geothermal, using heat from beneath the Earth's surface to create power, is a proven technology providing power to the Big Island. Can we look to our oceans to give us energy as the research and technology improves? We have challenges ahead for the future of Hawaii. Our physical climate is changing around us with our rising ocean.
This is going to be a severe loss for the people of Hawaii, whose quality of life really in many ways is dependent upon access to the ocean and having beaches to go to for recreation.
This is our time to act and change our social climate.
I think the brightest future of any industry is going to be the energy field. I think there is going to be more change in the energy field in our lifetime than I can think of any other possibility.
You look at the most progressive corporation, they're embracing energy efficiency, they're embracing research into green technologies, and we should be partnering with them because that's the future.
It's up to our generation to do this for the benefit of our children and our grandchildren and future generations.
You know, I'm very hopeful for the future. I'm hopeful because I think that this state is trying its best to jump out there. You know, we are the second state in the United States to adopt the Kyoto Protocols and accept that we need to get back to 1990.
Global climate change provides a perfect opportunity to find some of those diversified solutions. There's no reason we shouldn't be a global leader in renewable energy and energy efficiency, in finding homegrown solutions to these problems.
Hawaii is facing a climate and social crisis. Going green makes sense for our future economy, keeping more of our hard-earned money here in our islands. Our environment will benefit from local power, whether it's grown in our fields, captured in our winds, or harnessed in panels. There won't be one single source of renewable power that solves all of our problems, but there is no question that we need to create energy in Hawaii. We can look to technology to provide better, clean sources of power, but to truly make a change and create a sustainable future, the solution starts with each of us.